You're listening to episode number 3 with Wayne Astrauskas, co-host and owner of Mystic Fern Apparel. Welcome to the Creatives Unite podcast, hosted by Alex Moore, former Hollywood actor and side hustle jeweler, and Wayne Astrauskas, former professional athlete turned apparel designer and maker. Each episode will bring you inspiring stories and advice from creative business owners and side hustlers from all over the globe. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show. Hey everybody, this is Alex Moore. I'm here with Wayne Astrauskas, and we are Creatives Unite. So Wayne, how's it going, bud?
Alex, how you doing, buddy? I'm awesome.
Yeah, I'm good too, man. So like I was saying before we were chatting, that it'd be a bit different because we know each other. So we're just gonna go with the flow to let everybody listen and know who the hosts are and kind of what their story is. And yeah, we'll just kind of see how things go. So Wayne is, like I said, I've known Wayne for I don't know how many years now actually, but I think we probably met when we were about 8 or 9 or 10, somewhere around there, or was it younger?
No, I was thinking like third, somewhere in there, in early elementary school, but not, kindergarten, first, second, definitely probably a little bit later.
So
sounds right.
Yeah, and I remember the first time we met. So Skippy Johnston was my friend who lived 2 houses down from me in Collinsville on Helen Place. And I remember, I met Skip in I think it was supposed to have been when I first moved there, which is about kindergarten or first grade. Yeah, so it would be a few years later. We were down at the end of the street. It was kind of a subdivision that was it was going to be a subdivision. I think they maybe had just like a rock road or something then that went down this big hill into the woods, and the woods behind your house kind of met up with that road. Yours of grandma's house, wasn't it, really? Yeah, so the woods behind your grandma's house met up to this road that went down from our street. If that is a clear picture. And we were down there, and I remember you came through the woods and Skip knew you, and then that's how we first met. Is that your recollection of it? Do you remember?
Yeah. Yeah, I vaguely remember. And in a sense, I don't remember details, but I remember, I definitely remember that. I remember seeing you at Jefferson one time, I think picking Skip up, either riding bikes or something like that, kind of randomly. And yeah, and so as far as the one down below the hill, though, yeah, that sounds right. Because like you said, my grandparents' house met up with the back there, so it's kind of like if I was there, which are my house and my grandparents' house were on an acreage kind of spread out. So anyway, but yeah, it definitely butted up to that spot. And then they were building a subdivision out, and there were a bunch of woods down there, but it was getting bulldozed. So
yeah, they're clearing it, weren't they? Yeah.
For us being kids, that's perfect scenario, climbing on trees that are laid down and stuff. And yeah, you remember anything else about that?
Well, I was just thinking too. I was like, when you talk about your grandparents' house, because like when you're kids, everything seems like so much bigger than it actually is. So like if we went back there now, it probably wouldn't be as big of an area like that you lived on, I guess, seemingly. But I was thinking, is like, oh, how did you know we were back there kind of that day? And I don't know, it's like, well, if you think about it now, it probably wasn't actually that far distance. You could probably hear us or something and came back there or something.
Yeah, I mean, it was acres and acres though. So it definitely was a big area that for all of the whole scenario. I mean, it was probably multiple acres, but you definitely could hear because it was kind of in a valley.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So the echo, you could hear people, and being a kid, you probably walked up to the edge and was like looking out there
and saw Skip or something.
Yeah.
But with Jefferson, so the school that you guys went to, I caught the bus there to go to Holy Cross. So probably if I was there, that's probably what I was doing.
That makes sense.
Catching the bus from Jefferson. But anyway, yeah, man. So yeah, that was our first meeting, and then I kind of don't remember much after that, really, as far as like special details or anything. But we just became friends. A whole little group of, it was basically you, me, and Skippy were pretty good friends. And then there's a few other, well, my brother kind of hung out sporadically when he didn't annoy us. And then, yeah, some other kids around the neighborhood too kind of joined the gang, and they came and went. But yeah, me and Skip were kind of the,
Well, and then George.
yeah, but
George as
yeah,
well.
but George was a bit later, wasn't he? George moved in a bit later, and then he moved
Probably
out too.
fifth. Yeah, a couple years after this,
Yeah,
after the story you just told, probably. And
yeah,
then they moved. Yeah, but still, they're yeah lived together for a while. There was like four of us.
yeah. So yeah, it was the three amigos at first, then the four, and then yeah, a few other kids always around, from different areas like Mark and
Mhm.
all kids that who there's a bunch of kids that, like, grandparents lived on the street too, wasn't there? That they kind of came every now and then. And remember Chris LeBeau, like at the end of the street, his grandparents lived behind me, and the dad lived at the end.
Mhm.
And then yeah, anyway, a good little spot. So what else do you remember about, like, kind of growing up on the Helen Place area, Davis Place, Helen Place?
Yeah, we were outside in the woods a lot. That was a key go to.
Yeah,
You know, it seemed like that was we were always digging trenches and holes and building the forts of some way out of the hillside. Or I remember creating a few little treehouse kind of stands and whatnot. We tried to get into paintball at one point, and it was a perfect setup to do so, but all of our guns were really low quality and
so
terrible.
crap.
Like, yeah, we had all the gear. I think it was maybe CO2 that you plugged in a
Yeah,
canister.
but then it got so, because it was so cold, that they hardly ever worked.
And they were just low quality equipment
Yeah,
because we didn't have money. And then
yeah.
our parents would buy us, we had the low entry level guns that
But they
didn't
look
work
cool because they
well.
looked like actual, like, long rifles, didn't they? I remember they were.
Yeah, they look cool. They were terrible though, bro. Like,
You should get like a couple shots and just go, and then just blow out all the CO2. And
I've thought about that would be fun to get the paintball, the gear. I know people do it and it looks like a good time. That would be people play competitively and all that as well. But just man, I remember us going the one time where we rented out and we rented guns and equipment and whatever. We only went there one time, but it was the group of us like we just talked about.
yeah,
And then some man, we're probably like what 12, 13 maybe, and some like
I think I
man
remember
came.
this.
We played we played at that urban. It was
The
like a
village, yeah.
little village type of setup with like plywood buildings, and this guy came around the corner and shot me point blank like in the side,
I remember that.
in like the lower meaty
Yeah,
back.
yeah, like,
Shot me point blank, and I should have just turned around and shot him in the chest or something, like shot him right back. But that's not how you play the game. But you're also not supposed to fire on somebody that close. That's part of the rules.
yeah.
I can't remember them, but I remember them that day, and like, yeah, I should have reciprocated it. But in hindsight, whatever.
I remember
Anyway,
that.
dude, I was down. I remember. I think it dropped me to my knees though. It was.
You
I just
couldn't have time to retaliate because you're in instant pain.
I was instant. Just yeah.
And I remember, yeah, I think because they played there's that one, but then there's bigger forts, like bigger fields. I remember being either with you or Skippy or somebody else, and we just like laid under a bush the whole time, and like never saw anybody, just trying not to get shot.
Yeah, I don't think that was me. I think that was you two. But I do remember. I remember it being fun. I remember getting hitting a couple folks and getting hit a couple times.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always good.
Uh,
Yeah, it's always good, that adrenaline rush when you hit somebody with it. Um, yeah, man. But yeah,
Could be
no.
better if you could
Remember,
put money into it though and have quality equipment. That would make it the most fun.
yeah, especially where the spot we had too, because I remember you had like this little fort in like your yard, a cool little like plywood kind of hut. Had like the trap door at the bottom, and
It was on stilts.
yeah, little windows and stuff, a little deck around it.
Yeah, brah.
And yeah, but then the kind of the woods went off. But I remember I had I think I picked up like army surplus store as like a army manual, and had all these ways like build these forts. So we were building like forts where we dig a hole and we like pile up with some sticks and then cover it with sticks on the top. So you had like a little foot wide gap to look at and shoot out of. And then we had that big hole up at the top that we just dug and dug and dug for like the whole summer, didn't we?
we dug into the hillside. And it actually probably was more of a hazard than anything. Like
Yeah.
somebody, but yeah, yeah,
I
we
remember
put a lot of work into it.
we I went back there. It was years ago now, but that hole was actually still there.
Mm, that sounds
Uh,
right. I
yeah,
bet it is. Yeah.
so it was pretty deep. It was like, it would have been, what, how tall you think we were? About 5'5" or something like that. And it's probably, it
Sure.
like came up to like our necks type of thing. So yeah, it was pretty deep. Yeah, so those were some fun times as a kid, and like it was kind of like I remember kind of like a childhood you'd see on like a movie, wouldn't you? Like those kind of just hanging out on the street and playing outside, riding bikes, all that good stuff.
Yeah, there
Um,
were actually a lot of creeks and stuff too. We would go
yeah,
and like sludge through them and explore. So that was, I think that's the point here. Childhood was a lot of that, just outside exploring all around the property. You know, if you can remember, we were going down and then some changes happened, like we were just talking, where we'd explore new spots. So we were always going out and we'd find that same spot you were talking about behind my grandparents' house. There was actually some kids that were older than us had dug a tunnel through the hillside. So if you had rolling hills happening, say just in the woods out, they dug into it and created an underground like tunnel system, but it was like where you could go and hang out. It was like a hangout spot.
oh
Do you
really?
remember that?
No, I don't
Yeah, it
remember
was right
that.
down. I remember right whenever that stuff started. That I remember seeing that though and be like, wow, these kids, somebody built a little, living space here in, in the woods.
Yeah,
And I remember it was you're kind of a little bit taken back by like, what the heck is this,
yeah,
because it was foreign to you and you're little. So you haven't seen anything like that. So anyway, but then that kind of adds to what you were just talking about, building little forts and doing things like that,
yeah,
like
yeah. No,
that's part of,
it was a cool place to grow up. I remember, quite lucky, and it's cool to like be good friends with the people that you grew up with still, like 30, 40, nearly 40 years
mhm.
total. But cool. Anyways, but then yeah, like we were at different schools and went to different high schools and stuff. So do you remember what was your first job? Was it umpiring?
Yeah, I think so. That sounds right. I remember doing it with you as well. I
Yeah.
think we actually had a couple games together. I think you and I were a team when, and maybe it wasn't you, but I think this happened. We had those rubber balls that the coaches would put in machines.
Oh yeah.
They like,
Yeah.
and it'd shoot and the kids would hit. And I remember having a couple because being the ump, I was behind the pitcher's mound and I kind of bounced them the whole game. Like I was just kind of like, doof, I'd bounce it and then
Yeah.
hold it. And nobody said anything to me about it. And then we get in at the end of the game after it's over, and one of the coaches out there had complained to the head umpire person. I think it was a lady. Don't remember her name, but anyway, she like kind of chewed me out for bouncing the ball throughout the entire game. And it wasn't. I don't think it was obnoxious, but it got on the coach's nerves, and they never said anything to me though, and that taught me a lesson. It's like why didn't you just say it to me right there? Like ask me to stop. You got
And
going on with the.
so and but yeah, you hear that kind of stuff all the time. Like people don't say anything to your face, but then they like tell on you behind your back type thing. And
Yeah, and it wasn't.
I think we were like 15 or so, wasn't you? 15,
Yeah,
16. And
yeah. I was
and
just saying that was a little lesson. I remember that, right? I
yeah,
remember that experience. Like I try not to be that way on the reverse side. I try to talk to people before if there's any sort of challenges going on.
yeah. Yeah, so
What's
so
up?
the umpiring was my first job too, and I think what do we make about $10 a game or something, if that, $8 a
Like it
game.
was like seven. I thought it was
Yeah,
it was a low amount back then. I want to say
right.
$5, $6, $7.
And you might do
I,
two games a night or something like that at the most. But you got a free something at the snack bar. I remember too. That was pretty good. It's a little chili Fritos or something in a bag. um,
we were just talking about those, by the way. We made them here at the house here recently. Not exactly the same. It was an improvisation, but we've talked about actually getting the bags and making it up
oh yeah,
like within the last week.
they were good, man. They were a thing.
So
And
people don't know about those, by the way. So like, if you talk around, like not everybody's seen those, but those are ones you'd get. You go to like a high school game, maybe your high school, they'd have bags of Fritos with some sort of chili meat.
yeah,
They'd put it in the Fritos
Well, they
on
just
top,
open
and
the
then
bag
some
up, don't
cheese.
they? And just
They
pour it in
crack
the
the bag
bag.
open, pour it in the bag, and then they sprinkle some cheese on top, maybe some other toppings. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's
You
a
just eat,
thing. It's a delicious little treat.
you just eat it with a fork. It's not like you need a bowl or anything. You just use the bag as a um, chili in a bag type thing.
It's an automatic stomach ache.
Yeah.
Just an instant. It just
Diarrhea later.
drops.
Um,
I
yes.
don't know about that. That might have been too far, too much.
And then another thing with umpiring. So we have still an ongoing joke about old Rickman.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Were we umpiring the same game that time?
I swear we were. Because I remember if we weren't, we would go hang out by each other, and between games, or maybe if innings, remember you talk to the across the fields and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, carry on.
So yeah, so this is so Wayne and I were umpiring, and I was the field ump. So if you don't know about baseball, there's normally a couple of umpires, like the referees of the game, and so there's one behind home plate, and then one is out in the field. So I was out in the field this game. I believe the team we were kind of umpiring was, had little kids on it, so probably they were like 6 or 7, and we were about 15. And there's a coach that had a kid on his team whose name was Rick. And Rick was the type of kid that probably didn't really want to be at baseball, didn't really care much, didn't put much effort into the games, and
Too
wasn't
young
very
to
good.
care. Too
Yeah,
young to
young.
care.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, just a kid being a kid.
Parents threw him in there, and with Little League, you got to let everybody play. So the position on the field that you probably put the worst kids is right field, because the ball very seldomly comes out to right field, because they're too little to hit it there, unless they're like a left-handed power hitter, which they don't get many 7-year-olds that are like that. So I remember every inning, the coach, when the fielding team, they were going out to the field, they're like, "All right, Rick, man," he'd get real pumped up, and he'd go, "Come on, Rick, man, we need you out in right field," and be clapping and carrying on, and then Rick, man would be like kind of just walking out to right field, not knowing really what was going on. And when he got there, he basically was just playing with the flowers and picking dandelions and throwing his glove up in the air and stuff.
I swear one time, and I could be making this up, but I remember this. The dude he went way out. He just kept going in right field and was like, "Rickman, you're too far.
Yeah, he's
Come
like
back,
out like
Rickman."
400 feet. Like
But he would always the coach talked to Rickman. For whatever reason, I felt like he had a Rastafarian or Jamaican, an island accent when he would say Rickman. He really put into it. I don't think I could do the impression, but like Rickman, But anyway, you're too far, Rickman. So we would always just hear Rickman nonstop.
Yeah.
And it was like, I never heard that again. I haven't heard anybody talk like just that same scenario was so perfect. And the kid, like you said, he was just out of it, just playing and having a good time. He also batted last.
Yeah.
He was absolutely the last hitter as well. And I don't know if he ever.
Who's reserved for the poorest hitter in the team.
Yeah, but give the coach credit. I remember so the coach had a good attitude, and I remember those kids, the coach and his family, the kids, the boys would go to Gaslight as well, the pool that we grew up going to. Yeah, I remember seeing them there. They were cute. The kids were cute, but anyway, yeah. So
Gaslight was this. It was kind of a private bath and tennis club. They call it, in it, Gaslight Bath and Tennis Club, and it was about probably a mile or two from our house. And it was a cool spot. It was kind of it was like a pool in like kind of this wooded area at the end of the subdivision.
Yeah, it backed up in like a kind of deep old subdivision area where it was hills. There were quite a few hills there, and so it was kind of at the bottom of some hills, in a ravine, if you will.
Yeah.
And then, which there were a lot of those around where we were at. And so, and then it was backed up in the woods. So it was like this old school pool. It was beautiful, really.
Which is huge. Yeah, it was awesome. Like you think about it now, you don't really, there's nothing really here in New Zealand that reminds me of that, because they're not trees like that. There's those like big, massive like oak trees and sycamore trees and whatever they were, just all around the pool and stuff. And, so, but it was, they did family passes for the summer for I think it was like $300 for a family pass, which as a kid you think, oh, it's a lot of money,
It
but
might have been like 150. I think it was a lot cheaper than that actually.
well,
Maybe
maybe
now,
it's
maybe now with inflation, I don't think it
yeah,
was that much.
but still it was super cheap for what it
Yeah,
was. You know what I mean? Like, and
yeah.
basically it was like you didn't have to have your parents to go there. We just went there as kids. The parents like put money on the concession stand in a little like you had like an account on like a little
Hmm.
note card, and they basically brought in $20, and you could get you just use that $20 every time you went and just said your name, and they marked it off, and that was what we had our
Pretzels and
lunches.
cheese,
Yes, yeah,
pretzels and cheese, and just
pretzels and
yeah,
cheese, popcorn, candy bars,
yeah,
those little mini pizzas,
yeah,
little microwave mini pizzas. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, we spent every pretty much every sunny hot day in summer times as a kid there for like well
It
five
was like,
6 years I think.
yeah, I think for me it was probably like 2 to 3 years that I went.
Yeah,
It was,
but still it was awesome because it was like
it was
what when you're off for 3 months and as a kid you like watch TV, and like so
mhm.
we like, when you're playing outside it gets so hot that yeah the
Well, it was
pool.
a social, it was a community social pool where friends that you didn't see, so we went to middle school around that time. So for instance, you went to a different school than I did.
Yeah,
And then there were other kids that were in the same setup where they went to other schools that neither of us went to, and everybody went to the same pool.
yeah,
So you'd meet a lot of people. It was a fun time. I met a lot of people just from going there. And then you got to know people better, and, became friends with people because of the pool as well.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was dope.
And we yeah we got into a bit of trouble there from time to time, just
Minor, just being silly, like nothing.
yeah, just annoying the lifeguards and things like that. I remember they always put us on trash duty if they got annoyed with us too much. Being like
Yeah.
beach whales in front of the lifeguard stands and stuff.
Yep, I remember that. Yep, just going with it. Just working on some acting, some.
It's true. And
Yeah.
making my brother puke up half eaten hot dogs.
Oh man,
But
that nobody did that but you, most likely. Yeah, I remember that. You were dunking him, and it was like they weren't chewed up;
yeah, I
they were
was
like
just
sliced up. It was like he had lunch,
you just take a bite out and
sliced
just
up.
swallow it whole.
Yeah, like what?
Yeah. So anyway,
Just
yeah,
trying to think what.
gaslight was some good times too. So yeah, we talked about the first jobs. So what um did you have any other jobs in high school or
Mm,
past high school?
kind of. So yeah, so I did. I had. I'm trying to think chronologically, but I know that around going into my junior year, so I quit playing basketball, and after my sophomore year, and in the summers you would have like a 7 a.m., 7:30 maybe at the latest workout at the gym. Maybe it was 8 o'clock, whatever. But you'd be from 8 to noon. You'd go down and play at the high school, and I didn't do that. So my parents were like, "You need to get a job." Something like that, it was fine. So I worked at Kmart. They were doing like a refurbishment of Kmart, and basically making it a big K. So I was on this team that wasn't really an employee so much that checked people out ever. It was more there were these construction crews in there, and we would help them set up shelving and
Oh yeah,
whatnot. So there was
yeah.
a plan and layout. So I actually worked on that with my friends. It was my friend Dane and my other friend Charlie, who we both played baseball with. Both of them, we got kind of hooked up because Dane's like family member worked there and just got us a summer job.
Oh yeah. So is Kmart still a thing in the U.S.?
I think it's gone.
See,
I think it's,
they're in New Zealand here, and I know in Australia too. It's huge. Like they're kind of like the Walmart here in this New Zealand,
yeah.
and it's good stuff, and it's like super cheap. They kind of have their own brand of stuff. It's not called Kmart; it's called Anko, but they have like basically clothing, electronics. Well, not like super electric, but like vacuums and things like that. That type of electronics, home stuff. But yeah, it's pretty massive here.
I think they went bankrupt in the U.S.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if
Well,
you
there's
think about
I
it,
think a lot more competition and stuff, but yeah.
sure, yeah,
Um, so yeah, so I actually forgot that you worked at Kmart. Um,
it was short. It was a summer. That was it.
yeah, yeah. And then you went away to Kaskaskia College, right, to play baseball
Yeah, Kaskaskia Community
for
College.
college. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I had a. So I didn't quit baseball. I quit basketball. Didn't quit baseball.
yeah,
And And actually on the baseball or on the basketball topic, one thing that I guess I was thinking about why I quit. And I remember I was, I would, man, you put a lot of hours into all the sports you play. You played basketball, right?
Yep.
You know that on weekends you're practicing after school. It's a full-time commitment.
Yeah.
And that's
Saturday
okay.
mornings. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. Saturday morning is not really Sunday, right? But maybe Sunday though. I think we'd have some I think we'd have some practices here and there. But anyway, so yeah, just putting all that time into it. I remember I think I just got burnt out a little bit, but I also was a little bit, I think, kind of frustrated because I would I remember my sophomore year especially, I was a sixth man and I would come off the bench, and you remember, yeah, you came to a couple of my games, I remember, and you remember like our team would always be really close and sometimes pull it out, sometimes not. But I remember I would shoot the lights out. Like I was a come off the screen, catch and shoot player. I was a shooting guard. And I remember like one game in particular is my high scoring game of my career, but I had 5 3-pointers and like 2 free throws. I had 17 points. And then the next game I didn't start. And I remember just kind of always feeling like, I guess starting is not everything for sure, but you know the point, right? Like you
Yeah.
want to get. I got plenty of playing time. I'd come in, but it was like yeah, like I'd come in. I remember one game I came in and made like 3 3-pointers in a short amount of time, and I was like I didn't miss either. That was the other thing. I shot at a high percentage. So anyway, I just kind of got, I think, burnt out from just working so hard and not, I guess, seeing more playing time. And at the time I wasn't necessarily vocal with the coach about it either, right?
Yeah.
You're learning how things go. So that's something that I learned from that. Like have conversations with people. You can talk about anything if you talk about it, come with the good intent. And, so anyway, I just wanted to note that, man, that was kind of part of my, like, one, I loved basketball but then I chose baseball. So I got a scholarship at Kaskaskia. But when I played basketball, I always make note that I wasn't as good at baseball after that. In the sense my body couldn't do exactly what I wanted it to do as well. I wasn't as quick, fast twitch muscles and things like that.
Just
And I
from
just,
not playing basketball anymore and
yeah,
practicing and training.
yeah, the training and the running, the training in basketball is primarily for just the speed and the cardio and the endurance aspect. You were in such good shape.
Yep.
And you know that. You played through high school longer than I did even. So yeah, man, it's a great workout. But anyway, baseball, yeah. So I stuck with baseball. That was my sport. And that was kind of the idea too. I wanted to focus more time on maybe even being a kid and just not having the schedule being packed, right?
Yeah. Because you played like travel baseball in the summers and you played summer baseball. So yeah, it was like year round basically. And I was similar. I played going up into high school. I played golf in the the autumn, and then basketball in the winter, and then baseball in the spring. And then yeah, and then I picked up soccer, playing soccer too, my freshman and sophomore year. And so yeah, you're quite busy all the time. And after my sophomore year, I quit everything except for basketball, just because I got so burnt out on just practicing all the time, all year round. I just want to have some free time after school and stuff. And yeah, so I definitely know where you're coming from there.
Yeah, you feel fortunate to play for sure. So
Yeah,
I don't take any of that. I mean, it molded so much out of me because the competition, because that, and I say competition mainly in the sense that you put up and play and do your thing, and you're going to play more, and you learn that just right there in front of you, right? The results are right there. And so sometimes, I don't know, it's kind of like it's a one-on-one situation where you're being challenged, right? You're being challenged to complete a task, and you're physically having to do it,
yeah,
whatever that might be. And psychologically, that really teaches you how to focus,
yeah,
on whatever you're trying to accomplish. You have to
yeah,
focus.
yeah, yeah. I agree.
Yep.
And so do you think? I guess coming from me personally, I wish that. Well, I guess in hindsight, I wish I would have spent more time practicing basketball and doing things like going to the gym and stuff. Because I was always pretty tall and like kind of lanky
Mhm.
up through high school. I didn't really start hitting the weights till college. And do you have any like kind of regrets like that? Or not really regrets, but just something you wish you had done better in high school to improve your game or anything?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think a couple things that come out of that is having guidance
Yeah,
slash resources, and resources is broader than people. Resources is even knowledge, like,
yeah,
a knowledge based situation. And So yeah, I mean, a few things. I think you learn from everything as well. Like you don't have to call it a regret, and I know that's kind of a
Yeah, no, that's a bit of a
yeah.
loose
Well, yeah,
term.
it's got a
Just
negative. No, people can take that negatively. It's not, and not in this case. It's more in this instance. It's not. It's more of a what would you do? You have to reflect on things and get better, and the only
yeah,
way to do that is to reflect, right? So
yeah,
you have to think about it. So yeah, so back to the basketball. I would have kept playing probably basketball. I would have had a conversation with my coaches or whatever, and just because I think I kind of quit, and then I didn't really tell anybody why or anything. I just was like out. Nobody had asked, and that's fine. But I'm just saying, like, maybe it would have been, maybe could have molded together a little better. But on top of that, then it's like, shoot, dude, I knew, you know how to run, you know how to work out and train and things like that. But I didn't realize the impact that doing all those things actually mattered so much
yeah,
to everything. So in other words, it wasn't that I was ever lazy. I worked out and did things. I just didn't realize how impactful the
yeah,
workouts so I would have done more training along that lines. I did practice, I did do things, but you didn't know how to do or what to do thing. Like, so in other words, like working out, we didn't have any workout infrastructure all through high school, basically. Really for any of the sports in my mind at the time, not for the ones I was involved in directly. I know that football did weight room and other sports might have as well, but that wasn't part of the program at the time.
yeah,
Now it's much more. And I was just going to mention, I didn't learn how to really work out until I was probably 22
yeah,
or so, when we were down at Troy State for a bit, and we worked out with the strength coach and the different sports. And I worked out with the baseball team and the volleyball team actually. And, because my wife was coaching volleyball. So like I worked, and the two workouts go hand in hand as far as the muscles and the movements of the sports. So anyway, so I still have this workout that I do now to this day. I took some time off from doing it, but now I'm back. I've been doing it for probably a good year now. I just want to make note of that. So you'd ask, what would I do? Like, I'm still working out like
yeah,
the same program that I did when I played like minor league baseball.
yep,
And,
yep,
yeah. And that's a big part of my day and my life. Like, because I feel good, just
yeah,
about like maintaining. So Kaskaskia. So I ended up, through high school, I don't, I wasn't heavily recruited, but I had recruit interest. I had different universities reach out to me, and I didn't have any scholarship offers other than one to Kaskaskia. I
So
don't think I had any.
was it schools like just wanting you to come play or
Yeah,
something?
well, yeah, I had schools interested in me, and then, man, so like I had a phenomenal sophomore year. That was when I still was playing basketball, and I was like
Yep,
15, playing up. I was playing up with the varsity, and I played 14 games. I started out sophomore and was tearing it up. I was hitting like whatever. I was like hitting over 400 sophomore against sophomores, because it wasn't. They had freshman, sophomore, and then there was no really JV. There was just varsity. Okay,
yep,
so anyway, yeah, Bean again had a great sophomore year where I was doing great sophomore. I got brought up, and I had like in 14 games, I think I hit 488, and I had 7 home runs as like a 15-year-old playing against like 18-year-olds, 17, 18-year-olds, which is a big difference at the time,
yep,
right?
yep, yep,
And there were other sophomores on the team as well that were killing it also. So our my class, we had some good athletes, but there were a lot of other great teams as well in the area. I just want to mention that. Like, I remember Edwardsville High School that year. No, the next year maybe they went like whatever, they went undefeated and won state, and then they won the American Legion World Series, like in Las Vegas. It was played. Like, they had a fantastic team, but there was a lot of good baseball players in the area that come out of that area.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and so anyway, I had one scholarship offer though to Kaskaskia, and so Coach Larry Smith, who's a awesome guy, big mentor for me, like one of those really important people and coaches that I had. Because one thing about it was that he gave me the opportunity to play. I was always I was so, like, again, sophomore year, definitely I was phenomenal. Junior, senior year, I was good, but I knew how good I was, right? And I would show it on the field, and I felt like just being that there's always going to be some sort of there's always kids that want to play, and there's family members, and people are coaches and that type of stuff. So I guess you could say like there's politics and all of it. So like I would always kind of get shifted around, but I stuck in the mix, and I would get my, I was a catcher and I would play. And anyway, so then he gave me an opportunity to play, and then I went there and started. And so it was a huge deal. So I had a full scholarship as far as like the schooling aspect. I think we had to pay for housing, but, and then played against like high caliber, the junior college it's everybody's playing the same sport. So there's great players and great teams all around and all different levels of collegiate athletics. And Larry Smith, really quick, he's a Hall of Fame coach in the junior college NCAA realms. And like, I remember he was getting older and he was in his 60s. And I think he retired maybe 2 years later after I left. And I remember the coaches though that on the other teams there were a lot of like embraces and like he was well respected, and he was a smaller guy, really like a fit little guy. And he just well spoken and just kind of acted how you would want somebody to act, like, kind of live by the golden rule. But he was well respected, and I just always admired that, right? And so then I admired that I got to play for him. That was it was special to get that opportunity to play for him.
Do you still get in touch with him now? Do you still talk to him now?
I haven't talked to him for a bit. It's been a couple of years. They have a golf outing for him, like a Larry Smith Open type of thing down in the Centralia area. And, I'd like to go back and go and see him again. He's getting older. I want to say he's in his maybe 90s now. I'm not sure.
Oh, shit. Oh, yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe he's getting older though. He's still with it. But yeah, so and then a really cool thing too is that, so I had a really good freshman and sophomore year. And I was hitting like 400 my freshman year going into the last series, and then like tanked because it was a really hard day to play baseball. The wind was blowing in and I just kept swinging because we were losing, and it's kind of like, not necessarily you were taken out of our game because we were down like 9-0 kind of thing. We're getting crushed by this team. So you kind of, anyway, swinging away and hacking away. And then, but yeah, just overall, I did really well there. And so Coach Smith was he put me up to be inducted in the Hall of Fame at Kaskaskia. So I'm in 2013, I was inducted in the Kaskaskia College Collegiate Hall of Fame, which is cool. Nice. Obviously an honor. Awesome. Yeah, it was really cool. Looking back on that, I remember I was the first one to go, and I didn't realize like people were doing speeches, had things prepared, but I didn't have anything prepared. I probably would have, I was just like grateful and thankful. Hey, I really appreciate it. And it was a great opportunity and an honor to play for Coach Smith, but I probably would have dove into him more because of like, he gave me an opportunity, and it just shows that one person giving you an opportunity, he helped my career advance. And I ended up getting a 4-year, a scholarship to Quincy University as well, because I got the opportunity to play at Kaskaskia on that one scholarship offer. Right. And I probably could have walked on somewhere, but you get my point, man. Like that's how life works. Like things kind of happen in your favor, or sometimes you get signs that it's not working out. And
it happens for a reason, huh? So yeah, so basically your side hustle is the Mystic Fern, right? And
so we can, let's jump into that.
And you do, you do screen printing and design, and you design your own, like if people are watching the video, your t-shirt there, you've made that one. So you've designed the graphics and everything. And you also do like tie-dye and stuff like that. Hoodies, shirts, now into short pants and sweatpants and shorts, looking fine there. I can tell you they're cool, man. And so anyway, so getting into that, was Kaskaskia where you started, because you got a degree in graphic design, and so college I guess was when you first started getting into art and stuff, or was it previously like in high school?
Yes, I mean, as far as so and this is a good thing that I'm going to ask you as well, right? Not at this very moment, but I guess if we're talking about Alex, I'm interested in when you started doing art, and because I think we all do at a young age. It's part of our curriculum in school, whether it is grade school or all the way through up, right? Even if it's not an elective. But I remember being younger and I would create things. I know my mom and my grandmother, they would make things and and do different little art projects. But I remember vividly creating this story out of my head, and I was into like toys. You've got He-Man and all these different, Ninja Turtles eventually, but just how they kind of start as a character. So I was into building characters and making little stories and playing. We talked about playing in the woods a lot. I would make up fictitious, you got Star Wars and you got Ewoks and things like that. So I would make up my own things. Like I remember I made up this little thing in second grade. It was called War Wolves. And now that was in 1980 something. Right. And now I know there's like maybe a movie called War Wolves or something like that out there now. And there's like, I looked at, cause I was telling my kids about it, but back to so second grade, I made this War Wolves and I had all these like leaders and this and that. And I made a story about that. That was an assignment in school, like make a little story, make a cutout of using paper. What is it? Not paper mache, but whatever, the construction paper. You have all different colors. I remember I made a wolf and I had the story about war wolves, whatever that was. And I remember the teacher being like, go show this to the third grade teacher, because that was when you started doing young authors. Okay. Well, so then, so in other words, they were encouraging me and they were like impressed by it and things like that. And I was like, it felt good. But, and I was just doing that. Again, this was just the stuff I was making at home, bringing it to school. Well, then I remember like next year in third grade, we did young authors. And like my story was like, it was almost like I didn't have a concept of time and finishing projects. So I kind of whipped together some kind of story that wasn't that cool for me, in my mind, but I remember doing it to complete the assignment. And, but anyway, I just want to throw that out there, like, having some idea of how to like start something and finish it in school. That probably came to me a little bit later as I got older, but it's kind of that follow through of doing something, like putting your mind to something. I wasn't into doing all the art though, is kind of where I'm going with that. I liked going outside. We played outside. I thought, nature was important, being out, but playing sports was a big deal. Yeah. So I guess getting back to the art and just talking creativity. I mean, I think one piece of a creative side that really sparked a lot for me was playing in the band. I remember, fifth grade is when fourth grade, we got introduced to band. And then fifth grade is when you join, the school band, so to speak. And it'd be fifth and sixth graders only. And then I played, so fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade. And then playing sports, it makes it challenging to do both, especially with summer practice in the high school band and yada, yada. But I really enjoyed band, and I'm really good at percussion in particular. That's what I did. I played the percussion, so primarily snare. I just want to make note of that not only is band creative, it's also competitive, where you're trying out, and you might have had tryouts for your school band, I don't know, but seventh grade, you go to, we went to the middle school where all the schools in the school district merge together for seventh and eighth grade. So it's a big change for everybody. And so we had the school band, and I remember, there were like 3 eighth graders and probably 12 seventh graders that played percussion. And I was third chair, sandwiched between, there were 2 eighth graders, first, second, I was third. And then there was fourth chair, it was another eighth grader. And then the rest were seventh. And so I just excelled at just playing snare and ripping, I guess. And so now, I still play drums and whatnot. So we talk about Mystic Fern and creativity. It's like, it all ties together, right? I think, you make art as well. And I think you're trying to express not only the thought you're trying to get across, but also in your, in your style and through your eyes, right? So a perspective, and that's a takeaway. So the reason I chose art major in my 4-year, right? So you have to choose a major. Eventually I got my associates at Kaskaskia. I went to Quincy University, had a full scholarship there. That's why I went there. I also had a full scholarship to McKendree offer. And then I also had a half scholarship to Carbondale, University of Illinois, Carbondale, which is a D1, really a good baseball program. But I chose to go to Quincy. And so Quincy, though, you had to choose your major. And I was like, oh man, I knew I had an artistic eye. And so I thought photography, they don't have a photography major there. It wasn't like that type of school. That they did have an art program though. The art director there, his name's Bob Major. He's a longtime like screen printer. And I say screen printer, actually he's a long time just printmaker, not screen printers. But I didn't actually have a screen printing class in college, but I had a lot of printmaking classes and I really enjoyed making prints. So a wood cut is a great example. You cut your design into a piece of wood
And
I'm
you ink
pulling
it
that.
down, don't you?
Yeah, you ink it down and then you wet your paper and you do all this process. I actually don't know how my buddy. This is my buddy Mike Pennecamp's artwork here. So
Yeah, that's
there's a
awesome.
little glare. It's a little wolf, a wolf man, and oh shit, maybe cut that sound out right there. Yeah, so it's a wolf man, and yeah. So anyway, that's kind of, it might be even like use like a linograph where they cut into some sort of like a plastic, a
Yeah, like a
different type
lino
of
rubber.
rubbery,
Yep.
yeah, rubbery material. There we go. Yeah, and it's funny because where I was an art major or whatever, like I got a a fine arts degree. I don't remember all the name of all the different types of things, right? I haven't done it in so long, but that got me into screen printing eventually, and also the tie that kind of evolved into tie dyeing clothes because I wanted to be able to print on different colors and I didn't want to just have to. I didn't want to be limited.
So yeah, so is that where you learned all like using the Adobe programs, Photoshop, and all that, all those
That's where I
programs?
started. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is. And I can't say I fully know how to use Photoshop as well, anywhere near as what I would like to. It's
yeah,
ironic that I like the illustration side of art. I like when I say illustration, I'm talking about the simplified drawings. Maybe it's just black ink on white paper. I think that's a great classic contrast. And I dig that. Even that's really kind of what I've got going on here with this. That's what I had in mind. But yeah, so anyway, I use more Illustrator. It was more of my program of choice. I like Illustrator. I like the feel of it. It kind of feels a little bit like a magazine or like a newspaper type of, because you're using the typograph and whatnot.
yep.
I just kind of dug that, and I dug using that and keeping it simple yet, uh, you know, adding your own flair to it. But anyway, I wish I could use Photoshop better. I've
Yep.
got some friends I've talked to about that, but we can't get together right now to go through some. You could, yeah. Anyway,
Um, yeah. So anyway, then yeah. So but I think when you said like being an art major, so did you get your degree in graphic design then?
no, that was like this. That was my focus,
Oh,
but
okay.
it was a bachelor in fine arts.
Oh,
We
okay.
did ceramics was a class, and
Mm.
you had the full gambit of classes. Okay, really quick, seventh grade. You probably remember this. I still have it. This is from seventh grade. This is Charles Barkley, baby. I was a huge Charles Barkley fan, especially in his son's days. And I just grabbed this. Actually, I couldn't find it. I've even got like kind of a. I mean,
You
I think
drink out of it.
I have. I'll
Yeah.
drink coffee out of it. It's sturdy. I've got some change in here rolling
Oh
around right
yeah.
now. But yeah, it says like Charles Barkley, 34, and I made this seventh grade ceramics. Mr. Eads was the teacher at North Junior
Uh,
High.
my family all have a bunch of my ceramics laying around that I made in high school.
Yeah,
Similar type of stuff. Nothing that cool though, really.
it's cool. It's not good, but it's kind of good. It's still together,
Yeah, most of mine I think
right?
have become like pencil holders at like my
Yeah, and
parents' house, and
yeah, that's
yeah,
cool though. Yeah, I mean, the other thing, doing ceramics, it can crack pretty easily if you don't do it right. And this is a thick mug; it could knock somebody out. It's heavy. It's not.
burglars. I mean, burglars.
It's like it's a workout though when you're drinking it.
That's cool, man. So yeah, so then go through. What did you do after high school? I mean, sorry, after college, and after you graduated from Quincy and university.
Mhm. Yeah, so I played baseball. That was my focus. That was really what I wanted. That was my profession. I took baseball seriously. Like I worked really hard at it, and I was passionate about it, and I was good at it. So I didn't get drafted, which I felt like I should have. However, that's how life works. And um, and basically, yeah. So I started the independent circuit. So I was trying to get onto different teams. I finally landed on the Great Gateway Grizzlies, and thankful for that opportunity. The Sage family took me in, and also Danny Cox was the manager at the time, and he was
Former Cardinal.
former Cardinal. He pitched some Game Sevens, and he was a big time player, and so he was the manager, and yeah, so I played minor league baseball for 4 seasons after college,
Yeah.
and I
So
could have. Go ahead.
so when you talk about being drafted, because you had
Mm-hmm.
one of your teammates in high school got drafted, didn't they? Kenny Lutz. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
do you ever think that like if he wasn't on the team, if you do you think kind of he kind of stole your, not really stole, but you know what I'm saying? Like, do you think if he was on the team that you could have gotten drafted, or do you think that kind of just was
No.
just the way it was?
Well, out of high school, so we're talking high school there, right? So you can get
Yes.
drafted out of high school, you can get drafted out of college at any year in college. I could have got drafted at Kaskaskia, yada yada, you know. So no, he didn't. No, no, he. I think it was good for me that Kenny was as good as he was, and he was great at
Because
especially hitting.
he pitched, didn't
Yeah,
he? Yeah.
but he was especially a good hitter. He hit. He was. So one quick note: we were talking about me playing basketball. Kenny was a wrestler, and he was
Yep.
like all state caliber wrestler, maybe 215. And this guy, he was like 6'2", and he was strong because that work, the wrestling. I've never wrestled, but I have friends that have, including him, and they work hard. And you're throwing body weight though. You think about it, you're using every bit of your body to and you're constantly pushing against. And man, he was strong, and so he was dialed in as well, and he hit like 500 for his whole high school career. I'm just making note of that because he got drafted as a pitcher then.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he got drafted 3rd round by the Reds. They wanted to make him a pitcher, and he was a great pitcher too. But I'm just saying he was such a great hitter. He was one of the best hitters that I've ever played with at any level. And I
So
would
he's
like
just
to
that
see
much
him.
more of an athlete, you think, in high school days?
No,
Like,
no,
do you think he's
no,
just?
no. What do you mean? Oh, what are you saying? What are you
I was
asking
saying,
there?
like, is he like he was just a superb athlete all around with his wrestling and hitting and pitching and everything?
Yeah, yeah. I guess I'm making note about the wrestling because he was in such great shape as well. So yes, he was a
Mm,
superb athlete, but he was in great shape as well. His wrestling shape, just like me from playing basketball going into baseball, I was a better player.
yeah,
He was partially a great player because he was such a good wrestler and worked hard at that. That it carried over into his baseball. So therefore, he was a superior. He was a great athlete.
yeah, yeah.
And I felt like I was as well, but I didn't have the basketball. I wasn't as good. And that's kind of my
Mm,
point. Like I shouldn't have gotten drafted out of like high school. I got better. I kept
yeah,
getting better and better. That's the main thing. I kept getting better every year.
yeah, yeah.
And so, but yeah, that's a
So
good point.
so
Good
then going
question.
back to being like, so you talked about, was it Larry Smith? Larry
Mm-hmm.
Smith
Yeah.
from Kaskaskia, and then
Mm-hmm.
having Danny Cox as a manager.
Mm-hmm.
Which was he quite an inspirational kind of leader for the for yourself then, because he's quite like you said, he's quite a high caliber, he was a high caliber professional player and stuff. It
Mm-hmm.
seems like having somebody like that would be a pretty good mentor.
Absolutely. He was on the 93 Blue Jays when Joe Carter hit that walk-off home run. He was a relief pitcher. So, you think about like major league starters, they maybe eventually turn into a reliever. He was like a middle reliever, I think, at one point, and he was a middle reliever, I believe, for the Blue Jays. So he won a World Series. So yes, I mean, yeah, answering your question, like, yeah, so he won a World Series. You knew him from, and we were young when he was at his like in his Cardinal days.
Yeah, yeah, I remember him as
But
Cardinal.
you remember him, but I'm just saying you didn't remember him as well as you did like in 93 or so. But yeah, he was he led by his demeanor and obviously, who he was as a player. But I thought he treated me great, and I appreciated him a lot. Yeah, so I mean, you definitely wanted to do well for him and for yourself for sure, and for the team, no doubt. But I mean, I learned a lot just being around him, and I think that's something you can, you're around different people. And I try to be that type of person as well, where you lead by example, just on how you carry yourself and whatnot. But yeah, I felt like he was inspirational, though. I felt like he really did a good job tapping into that. I think you have to care about each other, and that's harder to do as life goes on. And I say to care about each other, like as a team, especially in like professional sports. I think it's important that everybody gels and cares about each other to win, because you'll do what you have to do for that other person because you don't want to let anybody down. I've been on teams where people don't care about each other, or there's like conflict going with like key players, and that those teams haven't been successful as far as like the winning whatever league you're in or whatever that looks like, and so we won, and we had great talent and players, but he did a good job he understood the game. There's an interesting thing about baseball. There's a lot of games within the game, and there's a lot of moves you can make, but then there's a lot of times you don't make a move, and you let people play and do their thing. So I thought he did a great job, orchestrating our team. And also, whoever, the front office who put the team together did a good job, and it all clicked. It was 2003 when we won the Frontier League championship.
Yep. Awesome, man. And you got the ring for that, didn't you?
Yeah, I got a ring. Should I go grab it and bring it down? Bring it over here real quick?
I've seen it before.
Yeah, but a quick note on the ring is that our ring was designed after the Blue Jays World Series win. Their ring. Yeah, so cool. It has like a little. So he wore that though when we were in the championship, like in the playoffs. When we got to the playoffs, he started wearing his ring, and so nice. that reminded us of what we were trying to get. We were playing for that ring because you're not making money. Yeah, you're playing for that ring and for that experience and for that. I mean,
that glory.
Yeah, I mean, it really was like you're playing like, I don't care what level we're talking in these leagues, like it's competitive and people, it's a fight, and it's it can get heated and intense, and it's war between the lines.
I even find that in like my basketball that I play now. It's a small league, but you fight hard the whole time. And like you said, same thing, like you want to play for your teammates. And if you don't, if you're not gelling and together as a team, and it makes it a lot tougher to win, which my team unfortunately finds that the last few years we've came in like second and third in the league. So it's I didn't know that about his ring. As a bit of a motivation too, wasn't it? You see that on him and you're like, damn, we want to get a ring too. And
I mean, and it was my rookie year. So it's like my first taste of playing professional baseball, and it was a big deal. But yeah,
so go ahead. Oh, sorry. So did you, I can't remember, did you finish on the Grizzlies before you retired, or did you play, did you play after that team?
Yeah, I played after. Yeah, I played a couple places after. So after my second year with the Grizzlies, we went to the playoffs again. And then after that, we didn't win the playoffs the second year. We had another great team, had another great season. And the next year I actually I wanted to try out. I wanted to see, so there was a Golden League that was opening up, which was like kind of like a AA, AAA caliber league on the West Coast. And I was interested on trying to get on a team there. So I actually went for a tryout out there, and then I didn't get chosen. And so ironically, then I went back to the league 2 years later. I got on a team and I hit 290, and I was like playing really well. But anyway, so I didn't get.
Was that in Reno?
It was in Reno, yeah. And that team actually ended up winning the championship as well. I wasn't on the team though. I got released about halfway through the season, and then I got on a team it was Harlingen, Texas, it was the United League. I don't know if that still is the United League, and I know the team had been around for a long time. It's called the Harlingen White Wings. And I was, man, it's funny because a real quick note on my stats, you can go look at my stats online, and they're kind of, the first year I played, my rookie year, just a quick note on this, I was doing really well. I was throwing everybody out. I was I could block, and I did it all. But my hitting, I was doing fine. We got another guy that was he was a veteran player. And so he started starting more to me. So I kind of moved to more of a backup role, which was fine. He was a good player, and he should have started. And so my hitting though, when my hitting started to dip, my average started going down because I would play as a backup role. And it's hard to be in a flow. You have to play every day in baseball. And I was an everyday player. Although I could pinch hit, I could come in, but man, for whatever reason, it wasn't clicking. So my average dipped. And so then my next year, whatever I hit close to 265 or something like that. It was I was backing up as well that season. The next year I ended up hitting 306. I caught on late. It was on the Mid-Missouri Mavericks. But anyway, I ended up hitting 306. And then the next year, then I was on the Reno team. I hit 290, got released. And then I went to this Harlingen team, and I was hitting 385. So real quick, I got released from a team. And that's a funny story too, because I got released from, I went to the Rascals and played the, what is it? I forget what they're called. River City Rascals. I was there for 3 games, and in between the Reno team. And then, 3 games, dude, I was 1 for 11 or something. I wasn't, but it's it's baseball. So it's 3 games is 3 games, right? But then I got released, and it was funny because I'd played against the team, and I hit a game-winning home run the year before against them, right? Like, so like they knew I could play, but they released me. And so I go and they go to like, release me, and they call me into the manager's office, and he's like, Wayne, you're throwing the ball all over, you're not hitting, I got to release you or something like that. And I'm like, dude, like I've been here you know who I am. Like, I was like, whatever, dude. And ironically, the other person in that room at that moment was Jason Simatachi, the Cardinals. He was a big league pitcher for the Cardinals. You remember him?
Yeah, I remember the name. Yeah.
Jason Simatachi's in there. It was just kind of funny.
What was he doing there?
He was working out with the team because he's still
yeah.
playing pro ball, or probably maybe trying, or maybe I don't know exactly, right? But he was there. That's the reasons, people will come and they're using facilities and things like that. And obviously he played in the big leagues, so he's sitting in there with the guy who also had played in the big leagues, and there was no animosity, but it was just funny because like that's how it works, Yeah. I'm like, dude, I was like, I've been here 3 days, like. And you know what I can do. So it was just kind of funny, man. So then I ended up getting picked up on this other team in Texas, and I was hitting like 385 at least. It was like I hit a home run the day before, and then I hurt my hand. I swung, and something, basically the ligaments, I guess I want to say it's the cartilage, like ripped off the bone in my hand. And like, I'm talking nasty. My hand was like convex.
Yeah.
Instead of concaved, like how it's like this, it was actually a ball. It was so swollen, and the team was like, "You're not hurt," or something. Like the players and the manager were like acting like I was like not hurt. I'm like, "Yo, I am like something cracked in my hand." I went and got an X-ray. They said, "Yeah, your stuff's pulled off your bone." They're like, "You could play, but like, it's a pain tolerance thing, and as well as like I shouldn't have played. I couldn't even squeeze."
Yeah.
So I hit a home run. So I couldn't swing. If I didn't hit the ball well, it hurt terribly. Okay. So I played first base. And like I told you, I was hitting like 385, almost 400. So everybody's looking at me like, keep killing it. We're winning because you're helping. And then I got hurt. And I'm kind of making note too about people playing hurt. Like so many professionals play hurt and you don't know it. And, you think they suck or something, but like, no, you wouldn't be able to handle what they're doing. You know what I mean? So like, yeah. I learned that, but so anyway, during these games, my average dipped to like, I think it was like, I ended up hitting 212, which looks like I suck on paper, right? But like, there's a story behind it. You know what I mean? So, but one of the games while I was hurt, like I said, I had to swing and hit it. And there was a left-handed pitcher, and I hit the ball, and like, I think my bottom hand even like slipped off. I basically hit the home run one-handed because like my top hand wasn't even, or my bottom hand like came off the bat because I couldn't even feel it barely. Yeah. And so I hit a home run while I was like one-handed though, like during that whole stint. Like I still got some hips, but I sucked. I was terrible because your power, everything, your hands are very important in hitting, obviously. Right.
Yeah. I think it's just amazing that, that the amount of teams or amount of players, I guess, even that go and play like a couple games and they'll be like, nah, you haven't lived up to your expectation. You're like, well, he's only been here 2 games. You know what I mean? Like you get a few chances and that's it. And then they just bring the next person in and it's not like you're just going from local team to local team. You're like crossing the country, going pick up playing these teams like a couple days and things.
Yep. Real quick too. I remember I was proud of myself. When I went from that team to the Texas team, I was in between for like a week before I flew to Texas. Like during that time, one of my past teammates who saw me crush the ball was like following me online, and he told the manager about me, and they called me and signed me. But for a straight week between playing games, I didn't swing a bat. I just like ran a little bit and like kind of just stayed in shape, but I didn't do too much. And I went down in that first game in Texas, I went 2 for 4. And then like I played the whole time through that until, like I said, then I hurt my hand. I remember I was playing first base and they threw a double play ball, like just a clean double play on my team. And I dropped it at first base because I couldn't squeeze. I couldn't feel my hand. And like, I was like, this is, it really was frustrating because I guess people didn't think I was hurt, and I was really badly. And I should have spoke up, in hindsight, I would have been like, I'm done. I should have stopped immediately. I shouldn't have played another inning after I heard that pop. And I'd finished that game, and then I should have been finished. But my average would have been like 380 something though. Like seriously.
So would they probably release you then, or is it like the pros where you're on like a DL or something?
Well, they probably would have released me and kept me around. and then like probably would have re-signed back on,
Once
right?
you healed up.
Yeah, and I want to say we were done with roster changes, maybe even. So I probably would have just sat the bench and been on the team. Also, think about it though. My average would have been what it was when I was done, and I would have gotten picked up probably from another team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's the power of, I think, not only wisdom and knowledge at the time, but also just being assertive. Like, no, like speak up for,
Yeah,
but see,
man.
I knew that though, man. You play through that stuff because it's a sink or swim, dog eat dog situation where if you're not ready, there's always somebody to replace you.
Yep.
You got to do your thing when you're in the circuit,
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway,
All right. So that's your any other funny stories on your playing days?
I mean, not that I can think of right now.
All right.
Yeah, I've got plenty of stories. I'm sure they're funny, man.
Yeah.
But I loved playing, and it was a good time, and I enjoyed it, and I'm glad where I'm at right now. But it's experiences just like you've had experiences, right? Everybody has, like, they mold who you are, and that was a big piece of me. So it's part of, again, I got a baseball card. I got more stuff coming around.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah.
All right. So, hey, another quick note on injuries, on that topic of injuries. I know that, it's one of those things where not getting hurt is a big piece of top performance and whatnot. But, another note on injuries is, like, I hurt my throwing shoulder going into my second year with the Grizzlies, and spring training, I threw a ball, and it was like my arm just like felt, I don't even know how to explain it. It just kind of went dead, kind of felt like numb through the joints and whatnot. I probably should have had some sort of tests on it to see, in hindsight. That's kind of, we're talking again, man, reflecting, like, what would you have done differently? Like, I would have like stopped the press and like looked into it, and then like gone to some sort of like rehab probably for it. But like I played through it, and my throwing really sucked sometimes, but at the same time, like, I couldn't feel my arm or like my hand. I didn't have the same hand-eye coordination with the throwing aspect after that. Not forever, right? It got better, but through that season, I was like struggling with throwing. It hurt so bad every time I threw the ball, and it was psychologically, it made you like know that the pain was going to happen. And again, man, I feel like we've advanced so far now, talking 15, 20 years later, and just how we, handle things. I think the internet's a big piece of that, right? Like, there's a lot more resources, and back then, you know what I'm talking about. You didn't have as many resources to figure things out and as you do right now, right?
Yeah, like
And
I was
that's
saying
interesting.
before, even like the training and diet stuff. Like, oh man, if I knew then back in like my younger days what I know now, yeah, it could have been a whole lot better.
Another quick note on working out, that the Troy strength trainer, he might still be there. His last name's Shaughnessy. This guy was like he was in like a world renowned strength coach. So they have a really good one there if he's still there. But his program, I was the strongest I've ever been in my life. Like, I hit a ball. I mean, I was crushing the baseball, like hitting it. Every ounce of my body was like, it had power going through the ball. And, and again, I just remember that, like, I still do the workout because that was like a really important moment for me in, and just like a breakthrough on how to get stronger and be better as an athlete. But yeah, I hit balls like as far as anybody that you see on TV and other. That's the other thing, man. I'm talking about things I've done, not in a boastful way, more of just like, I mean, I'm proud to a sense, but you just have to be, you take little things from all your experiences in life, and they form who you are. So that's where it's important to reflect on those things and, be proud, but then at the same time, you're kind of never satisfied. There's a balance going on there with trying to be great at anything you're doing, which again, now, we're fast forwarding to farther along in our life. We've got families, wife, kids, and so happy to be where I'm at. And then it's cool to be able to make things, in my spare time, like you call it a side hustle, because I've got another job, you do too, right? But yeah, I just wanted to throw out those couple things because I feel like it's important to reflect, but also it can be kind of helpful maybe for somebody. Although we may have nobody that watches this, right? Like, that's not the point. The point is just kind of putting it out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So then, so you said going into your side hustle. So how long has that been going now?
Yeah. So since like 2017, I'd say fresh. I started it at the end of 2016. And then like really when I started though was 2017, right?
Yeah.
That was when I think my first sale was like April of that year, like
And
online. I
where on
sold,
like Etsy or something
yeah, I
or
sold it on Etsy at the time. And then, so my wife and I we'd done some embroidery. We had an embroidery machine. We sold on Etsy for like 3 solid years, basically to pay off the machine. We had this like expensive embroidery machine that had like a computer attached. You'd upload files and it would basically print that out on a shirt and string. And anyway, we sold like 500 items or 500 sales through that 3 years. So that taught me a lot. We all the money was going back into paying the machine and the inventory though, right?
yeah, yeah.
But still though, we ended up paying it off and then we sold it because it was loud. It was just a stressful process. And so then we took a step back and just were doing because we were under a gun because I was trying to like pay off the machine and this and that, right? So now though, doing the screen printing, it's a lot smoother, faster process, and it's more true to like what I like to do. Well, again, my wife was involved with the other one, so that was more kind of her thing, so to speak. But I helped out a lot and learned a lot from it. So Etsy, I started selling on Etsy at the same time. Then I was like trying to get a website going. So I have a
Yep.
website now, and it's mysticfern.com. I do have an Etsy presence, but I don't have as much on there. Just kind of to maybe get some traffic, kind of thing.
Yeah, yep, yep. And then so I guess where did you learn the screen printing side of it?
Yeah, I taught myself how to screen print, partially watching videos. I had some knowledge on printmaking though
Yeah, that's what I
through
mean. Yeah, you said you knew
yeah,
that.
that's what got me. So, doing the art in school, you learn how the process of things. Well, we never did screen printing, but I was like, I was actually inspired to start screen printing there's a company in Iowa. Now it used to be called Smash. Now it's called Raygun. And the Smash story, I think yeah, somebody somehow got in on their name, but anyway, they're Raygun now, and they built their business on like funny T-shirts, basically.
Yeah.
Like you could look at their website; they're well established. But I'd go in there. I have a shirt that says "I'm more than just a pretty face." I kind of throw that one out there just because it's funny, but like I still have the shirt.
Yeah.
I've got other ones from there. They had all types of funny Midwest saying type of T-shirts and whatnot. But anyway, so yeah, shout out Raygun. But yeah, just the fact that they're screen printing funny stuff on. I'm like, man, I've got a lot of funny things that I could put on shirts, and also I like the creative outlet of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And so you when you do like the graphics and stuff, do you design that, you know, um on Illustrator, I guess, or is it Procreate, or what do you use to design stuff?
Yeah, I'd say now I primarily use Procreate, but you still need Illustrator in the mix.
Mm,
Also, I want to get better at Photoshop again. I feel like there's a whole nother world that I could use that tool for
yep.
in the screen printing space. But the other one is, I started out drawing. I would hand draw things and then scan it in, and then use Illustrator uh, to line it out and create the image, which is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
it's
I've done a
way
little
more
bit
work.
of Illustrator
Yeah.
work, and it takes a long time.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. So the Procreate's a little faster of a process, but there's still going to be little things, nuances with both. But yeah, buddy.
Nice, man. Yeah, so I guess because we've talked before about the sales and doing market stuff as far as like in like not really farmers markets, but like kind of arts and crafts markets type of thing. So how many have you done of those so far?
I've
And
done three
what do you think
total.
about them?
Yeah, three total. Uh, I think a lot of things about them. So I did a local one a couple of years ago, and it did really well. I sold like over 20 something items in like basically 2 days, but one of the days was on Friday. So I don't really necessarily count that. It's almost like there's less traffic because people are working and it's not during some holiday time. So
Yep.
Saturdays was the big day, but so I used that as an opportunity to get feedback. Right. So I made probably 100 to 200 items for that booth. I had a lot of product. I still have a lot of product, right? So the marketing's a new thing that I want to work on. But yeah. So the markets, though, man, they, there's you do them as well, so and we can chat about that. So like, you get face-to-face feedback on things. It's always really rewarding when people love something, they connect with it. I think that's really rewarding to see that, right? It's a big, it's an important component. It's a long day, a lot of work. I'll say that. And I'm down for doing work. At the same time, man, some of the days are like 12 hours and like really a lot of labor. There's a lot to it. You got to wake up really early. And yeah, so they've been successful. Everyone's been successful. I've, profited, so to speak, but, and also you get your name out there and you get new people. So that's important. It's a lot of time though to that. And, it's challenging when you have another, like if you have a job, but then also having a family and like, you have to devote your time appropriately. And like, I'm not as into doing the markets for that reason. Like I've got a lot of other things going on and I'm all about devoting time to doing Mystic Fern and building it, but I'm trying to be creative in other ways, I suppose.
Yep.
Because of that. I think it's more efficient, but
one thing I've kind of learned from the markets is, when I first started them, I'd have people walk by, and I did this one, it was kind of a Christmas market, and people walk by and kind of like a parade, they'd just be like kind of moseying through the stalls, and you get people and they turn up their nose. They're like, oh, I don't like that, and you get kind of offended at first, but then you kind of realize that, there's going to be somebody that doesn't like your stuff. And then just like I've also learned that there's always going to be somebody that does like it, like some of the jewelry that I've made, I'll have out there and be there for a while, like in my stall for sale. And eventually somebody come around that will absolutely love it. And they'll be like, oh, I got to have this. And it ends up being like the perfect fit if it's a ring or something like that. So yeah, it's just the patience and not getting like upset when people don't like your stuff, or they say, oh, come back. And like, they're not going to come back. This is,
or they say, we could make that ourselves. I've heard that a lot. Like, oh,
I've not heard that one as much, but
well, not with jewelry, but I'm doing tie-dye and everybody, I'm doing tie-dye specifically, I think is where people will say that. But the ironic thing is like, I'm using high quality goods that sometimes are costing, like, it's a pretty good investment to try something on. So it's like, anybody could do anything really. But one thing I was going to mention on the topic of just somebody, that piece that somebody ends up, it's cool because it's on the same lines of thinking, is that you make something and then you don't know who it's going to be for, but eventually it connects with somebody. And maybe I've got a lot of pieces, so maybe there's not one for everybody, but I would say that there is, and the markets are a great opportunity to put that in front of people and give them an opportunity to see it. So it's obvious, right? Like having a storefront, but then again, there's a lot of logistics going on with the markets. So
yeah, like you said, it's a good way to just get your name out too and get exposure. So as far as that goes as well. So what other things, because you're on Instagram and you do Facebook and stuff like that. So what's like your goals for those, just getting people out there or getting your stuff out there and kind of not exposing yourself, but you know what I mean? Like, just getting your stuff out into the world, really.
Marketing, right? Like, or not even marketing, but just, I guess getting people familiar with, So, my line of thinking is a couple things with, especially social media. I'm not too into that at all. I like to use it as a tool, I guess, is I'm not into just being on and, I don't know. I like to keep my focus outside of like that. Right. And so I try not to put too much attention there, which can be good and bad, especially I know that there's like algorithms with some of those things to where the more you post and whatnot, then the more people are going to see it. I look at it more, I'll probably get more into that game eventually, but I'm just kind of like letting things happen and going with the flow and letting time and the universe take care of things, in the sense that, goals, I want to market more, whatever that looks like, whether it's Facebook, or the Instagram, which are kind of one and the same, but not, or other avenues, I suppose. So I think that's a goal that I have, is like, I've got a product now that I can actually push, and I know how to mass produce and I can scale with it. So I'd say that, I'd say marketing is probably a top goal, is just like learning how to get the product, which our podcast here that we're doing really is part of that. Right. So we haven't, in this particular session here, we haven't gone into that a whole lot, but we're, I'm trying to get better. You're trying to get better. none of us are know-it-alls at the same, and we're not to where we want to be, but I don't think you ever are, because this journey never ends of life. It's
Yep.
just a constant, and
And that was
yeah.
kind of
So
our goals with doing it too, wasn't it? To be able to get people on here that have a lot more experience, a lot better at those type of things, and are quite successful, and to learn from as well.
yeah, no, exactly. I think it's a really great perspective to, so there's other, when you and I have talked on the side about this, but like there's people that will try to promote like how to be successful at business, but then they never really have been successful at business necessarily. And then you got people that have and are highly successful, and they have podcasts, and you can learn a lot from those people. We're taking the position of, we don't know everything. We're trying to scale. We're trying to get better. We're trying to learn, and we want to get people in that are maybe either have done it and are interesting in their own ways, which everybody is, or maybe it's like a marketing person, and so experts as well. We're not the experts necessarily, but we can bring people together to have these conversations and hopefully build a base that can learn from the stuff we're learning with everybody, right?
Yeah, that's right. And like kind of the focus, our idea was too, is on like these small kind of side hustle type businesses, not necessarily like a tech startup type of business, like
Oh,
that's
not
not
at
what
all.
we're going for.
Yeah, we don't know anything about that either,
No.
right? Our lane is, hey, we can do, you've got a skill and a craft, and I do too. And I think what those are actually can expand as well. You've started doing one thing and you've expanded your product base, and
Yep.
and that's what I'm getting. That's what, when you try new things, when you have new conversations, that's the stuff you learn. It's all trial and error. So yeah, it's exciting.
Cool. So let's I know we've been going for a while now, so we probably got to start wrapping things up. So let's what would be some advice that you give someone who's wants to start a side hustle or something similar, but doesn't know where to start, or is a bit afraid to start because they don't think it's that good, or something like that.
Mm. Yeah, and this is on topic with, you're putting yourself out there. You're talking about going to these markets and whatnot. Yeah, there's a level of bravery and courage that goes with making something and putting it out there and like promoting it, and that. So if that's a hurdle, it's like, hey, you just have to have thick skin, I suppose. But, you know, doing whatever you want to do, just try it, try it, start it. Don't make it perfect. Don't, I found myself, I guess maybe, hopefully not too much now, but definitely in the earlier stages, like wanting one thing to be perfect before I could do another thing, and it holding me up or this or that. And I think, not being perfect is okay, and just have the courage to try it. And the other thing is, I think you have to be passionate about what you're doing. And, for a time I was passionate about other things in life. Now I'm passionate about making items that I enjoy and hopefully others enjoy. And same with you, right? So, I think whatever you're good at and you love to do that. Don't be afraid, have courage and confidence, and, put yourself out there.
Mm. Yep, I agree, man. I agree. Because yeah, it's never going to be perfect, is it? Really? And if you
No, I
wait, then
think,
you're just missing out, I think.
well, for it to get perfect, you gotta fail. That's the other thing with failure, is a huge, like, don't be afraid to fail. Sports taught me that. Baseball, you're great if you're hitting 3 out of 10, getting 3 hits out of 10, or whatever that looks like. Like, that is, you're failing more than you're succeeding. Keep that approach. Get out there and fail. Try some things.
Awesome, man. So we can wrap it up now. Let's give everybody listening out there, how can they get a hold of you and see your stuff and all those
Yeah.
avenues to go to?
Yeah. So my website's mysticfern.com. And I've got an email link up there. You can email me if you see something that isn't in your size or you like, or if you want something custom, you can message me there. I'm on Instagram, Mystic Fern. That's my handle there. I'm on Facebook. I want to say it's mystic_Fern. I don't know. It's out there though. You can find it. But I'd say those are some good avenues. I got, email, and then the other social media outlets.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Wayne, it's been awesome to talk to you this morning, and yeah, look forward to the rest of the podcast with you, buddy. and getting some cool people on here and hear some advice and stories and stuff like that. But yeah, anything else you want to add before we go?
No, I appreciate. It's awesome to get to talk to you. You know, we've known each other for a long time, and we've been best friends for a while. Best friends is in like, you know, you're lucky to have a couple of those out there, right? That you can just connect with and, you know, bounce ideas off of and talk to. So, yeah, I mean, it's good to catch up with you and be doing this with you. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's like they say, like if you have good friends, then you might not talk to them for a while, but when you do, it's kind of like picking up from where you last left off, isn't it?
It's a good feeling. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
cool,
Yep.
man. All right, man.
Yeah.
Well, we'll wrap this up, and yeah, get a hold of Mystic Fern, Wayne Head, Wayne Astrauskas here. If
Astrauskas. Wayne Astrauskas.
Astrauskas,
Astrauskas. It's
I'll cut
okay.
that out.
It's okay. No, so we kind of grew up. We kind of grew up with the Astrauskas. That was how my family kind of pronounced it, but the Lithuanian, it's actually Astrauskas is how you pronounce it.
Astrauskas. We got Wayne Astrauskas here. Get in touch for his awesome gear from Mystic Fern. And thanks for listening, guys. See you, Wayne.
Peace.